people usually only show the positive. Whenever I do a pros and cons or I do like a 10 thing to know video, I always try to highlight a bad thing as number one. And the reason I do that is just to show my credibility. Like, hey guys, I'm not gonna fluff this up. Like, here's something that is crap for here in Maryland. Like, our traffic sucks. Like, we're right outside of DC. We have all kinds of issues with traffic, and like, hey, this is first thing that you need to know. So when you're doing a video, what you really want to do, if you're doing like a top 10 list or pros and cons, you really want to start off with the most interesting thing as number one, and then kind of taper off. So the least interesting thing is the 10th thing that you list. And the reason you do that is to hook their attention, get them like, whoa, like that number one was so good. I bet your number two is going to be just as good. I can't wait to see number 10. And a lot of agents want to do it backwards. They want to build up and like have a big crescendo, and the most interesting thing is number 10. No. You got to fight for their attention. Every moment of a video or any piece of content, you got to fight for their attention.
You are listening to the number one real estate podcast in the world. We talk with real estate professionals all across North America about their wins, losses, lessons, and stories help you win in your local market today. My name is Cody from Sheridan Street. I'm joined with Vikram Deal of the Real Estate Sales Academy. Vikram, you got some nice plants behind you. You look all, you're all chipper this morning. You got, a nice little, is that a Buddha? I'm not sure.
It's a little Buddha back there. Yeah, a little Buddha.
That's very Zen of you. That's very Zen of you. Man, what's good? What's good in your world before we intro our guest today? We have a guest who's been in the White House. I've never been in the White House. We have a guest that's been in the White House, so that's exciting.
What do you guys have in Canada? The Grey House?
We have the Parliament building. I don't even know the House of Commons, I guess.
House. Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. I was hoping to be like the Grey House. That'd be kind of cool, but no.
No, we don't have any cool house in
no
Canada,
cool houses. Don't sell real estate there. If you don't have a White House, you don't have a cool house.
True.
What's good? Well, I built this background. Those are all live plants. I'm pretty stoked about that. I had the vision that came together and put it together in 3 days, which is really cool. So painted the walls all black, all live plants behind me. So there's these things you can build. You buy them. They're just like little pockets, waterproof pockets. There's actually 90 plants behind me right now.
If I had any of those plants behind you in my house, they'd be dead. They'd be dead within a week. Yeah. I would forget to water them.
Maybe not even a week. No, it's my therapy. So I moved into this new spot here in Medellin, and it's got a badass rooftop. So my office it's technically a bedroom. So I'm technically in the closet of the office of the bedroom. So I'm coming out of the closet a lot these days. But that's cool. So yeah, man, business is great. We had our best 3 months ever. We're up almost 800% year over year. And I want to, I think it's important that we talk about it because last year wasn't a slow year because I didn't know what I was doing. Last year was a slow year because I didn't have a product that was comfortable launching. Nice. And, we can tie that back into real estate, but a lot of agents, I believe a lot of agents purposely don't ask for appointments because they don't know what to say on the appointment.
Trust me, I've listened to enough calls and you've listened to enough calls.
Well, I mean, it's why don't you ask for an appointment? Well, if you don't even know how to ask for an appointment, and this is going to tie into what our guest is going to talk about, which is why I want to bring it up. But if you don't know how to ask for an appointment, what are the likelihoods that you're going to know how to do a good buyer's presentation or seller's presentation? What are the likelihoods that you're going to have a great process that's actually mapped out step by step of when I get a contract, this is what I do. When I'm going to write an offer, this is what I'm going to do. Here's how I present an offer. Here's how here's how we take an offer that's on one of our listings. Here's how we do a multiple offers, right? If you can't even book an appointment, if you're not even willing to put the work into learning how to booking an appointment, and I always say real estate's not easy. To be successful at real estate, it's effing hard. I think most people would be better served not being in real estate not because they can't do it. It's just because of the amount of effort that it goes into it. So, I've just been having this realization that when you build a good product and you believe in your systems and your services, then you want to get it out to the masses. But when you don't, then you want to stay hidden.
Well, when you look at Sharon shared recently that, 89% of agents don't have a buyer presentation, don't have a buyer consult process.
I think that's low. I think it's probably 94.
I think it's probably higher than that. But based on his study, 89% of, agents don't have a buyer presentation. And it makes me understand on a deeper level why people don't book buyer consults, why they don't, why a lot of people won't, when they're talking to a homeowner that is just considering selling, that isn't for sure selling, why they don't want to even meet with the homeowner in order to walk them through what they could do. People will struggle. I genuinely agree with you. I think people struggle to book appointments because they don't know what they're going to say in the actual appointment. They don't know the process that they're going to walk them through. And it's like, good process drives good results, but it's like, you're going to have a hard time booking an appointment if you don't know what you're going to say in that appointment. So I'm 100% with you. But speaking of somebody that, has good process, and we were chatting in the green room around, the things that he's specifically doing in YouTube and he's doing in blogging. I'm really excited to talk about that because I don't really know a whole lot of real estate agents that are doing blogging. We have Malcolm here with us on the podcast today. And Malcolm, I would love for you to kind of give people kind of a high level overview on kind of how you got into real estate and, your background serving, and then kind of like working in the White House, kind of setting some context for what you're currently doing in your market as an agent that within agent attraction, but an agent within production. So without further ado, I'll give you an opportunity to kind of give us your 60-second Cliff Notes version on who you are, and then we'll hop right into it.
Yeah, absolutely, guys. Well, look, I'm super excited to be here. I met Vikram at the Rise conference in October. I've been trying to get on this podcast ever since. I'm happy to finally get here.
It's not easy to make it onto the RE Agent podcast, the #1 real estate agent podcast in Medellin, Colombia.
You guys got a wait list, man. I had to book this thing like a month and a half out just to get on this show. So I'm excited. So kind of like
autograph?
Yeah, absolutely, man. So a big picture for me, like if I go far enough back, so I was in the Air Force for 11 years. And when I was in the Air Force, that's actually when I started getting into YouTube, like maybe 12 years ago. I started a channel about like emergency preparedness and outdoor camping and like survival. It's called Survival Know-How. And I got into blogging as well. And I started like experimenting with that. And that was like a little side hustle of mine. It's a fun project to do. And I still have that channel. That channel's up to 180,000 subscribers right now. Wow. I've made as much as 10 grand a month off of that channel before, but right now it's not really my focus. And so I was in the Air Force. I was going to do 20 years in. My last assignment was at the White House. I worked mostly under Obama and Biden, so I got to meet both of them. And then I got out the Air Force in 2017, and I actually got a picture.
I just want to say I'm sorry now.
Oh, well, you didn't let me finish the story. I got to meet Trump in 2017. I got a picture with them.
Better.
Yeah. I'll tell you a little story, man. It's a little awkward, though, because those photos with him, like, he doesn't stand up for them. So he just sits down the entire time, Trump. So, like, I walked into the Oval Office with my my ex-wife at the time, and, like, he's just sitting down. You have to, like, reach over the Resolute desk and shake his hand. And then we go around the side to get a picture with him, and he's sitting down, and we're standing up. And my ex-wife, like, she didn't know what to do in that situation. So she kind of, like, awkwardly, like, squatted down next to Trump. And my balloons with all my medals on it. Like, I'm not going to squat next to her or squatting next to Trump. So I got this really awkward photo of, like, Trump sitting, my ex-wife awkwardly squatting next to him, not knowing what to do, and then me kind of standing there in my blues. But yeah, it's kind of cool. I got to meet 3 presidents while working
pretty
there.
Sweet.
And so while I was at this assignment, I used to travel around the world with the presidents. I'd get there if they're going overseas, I'd get there 2 weeks in advance, set up all the communication equipment for Secret Service to use when they arrive in the motorcade. And I had my first son, or my only son was born during this time, 2015. And so he unfortunately has a genetic disorder, very severe intellectual disabilities and autism. And so me traveling around the world, which was a lot of fun, put a lot of stress on my wife, who's at home with their disabled child. And so that really influenced me getting out of the Air Force. And I was like, okay, I don't just need a job. I need a job that has flexible hours. I can work from home. I can help out with a kid. And that's what got me into real estate originally. It was that flexibility and that freedom. And so I got out in 2017, obviously a hard career field to break into, right? Obviously 87% failure rate. I had no history whatsoever with sales or marketing or anything, but I did have this YouTube background. I've been doing YouTube for fun and blogging for fun. And so 2017, when I got into this, that's when I originally started making YouTube videos around real estate. And 2018, I think, is when I generated my first lead from that, or first closed transaction from YouTube.
How long did it take you to get your first lead?
Probably about a year or so. But this is like 2017. There was nobody else really doing YouTube for lead generation then.
I think it was harder back then than it is now to learn. I think it's harder now to get business because there's so much more competition, but it's easier to get started.
Yeah. Like if I knew what I knew now and went back to 2017, I would crush it. We all would. We all know what video to make now. In 2017, though, like there's people like Gary Vee telling real estate agents, this is what you need to do. Just go and interview your high school principal. And like Gary Vee gives a lot of advice to real estate agents for YouTube. He's never sold a fucking home in his life, though. He's talking. It's all philosophical. It's theoretical with him.
So Gary Vee and Tom Ferry should hang out together. Is what you're saying?
Yes. Yeah. And so, I had to figure that out and kind of start experimenting with it. And I started doing blogging as well. That kind of, again, I had to figure that out. There's a lot of misinformation out there about what works for blogging. And so I did this for a couple of years, generating a lot of leads. 2020, I started selling an online course. I co-founded the Real Estate YouTube Mastermind Facebook group with my friend Christina Smallhorn. And that group's up to 20,000 real estate agents. Super active. We keep a really clean culture, and I'm really proud of that community that we've built in that Facebook group. And then in 2021, my wife divorced me after 9 years. And so now I find myself to be, the single parent of a child with disabilities with 50% custody. And so again, I had to pivot my business. In 2020, I was doing 30 transactions a year, and I tried doing that as a single parent. This is not doable. It's incredibly stressful. And so that's actually what kind of inspired me to join Real and start using my YouTube skills, my blogging skills towards agent attraction. And Real Broker, as you know, offers multiple streams of income. And now, about 3 years later, I'm making a full-time income off of the revenue share from that, and I was able to use those YouTube and blogging skills for lead generation, just generating agent leads. And at this point, I brought on a buyer's agent, and I'm still doing blogging to generate real estate leads, and I give those to my buyer agents primarily. I had a closing today, so I'm still in production a little bit, but really the agent attraction side of things and generating leads for my buyer agent, kind of my big focus right now in my business.
Let's go granular really quick here, just so we can kind of somebody's listening to this podcast and says, hey man, I want to get it on YouTube. I want to, I guess walk us through, or can you kind of unveil kind of your strategy on the buyer side, where it's hey, I'm trying to get homeowners, I'm trying to get buyer leads on YouTube. What should I post? What should I do? And then subsequently, if we can kind of go into agent attraction, say, for example, I'm a Real or an EXP agent, or I'm with LPT, how do I get more agents to kind of eyeball what I'm doing?
Yeah. So with the buyers, it all starts with your content strategy. And what too many agents do, and what Gary Vee was telling everybody to do, is just make videos about your industry, make videos about NAR, make videos about how to buy a house, how to sell your house, how to save $10,000 in your next home, what is an escrow account. And this is a mistake. Most agents should not be making videos about that. And I'll tell you why. Because that type of content is going to reach a national audience. So if I have a video, for example, on my channel, 10 hacks to pay your mortgage off early. It's got over 800,000 views on it. Those views are from all around the country. What are the chances that somebody's going to watch that video and just so happens to be within, a 30-minute radius of my house and wants to buy a home with me? Slim to none. So those types of videos, there is a business model for that, but it is not the most effective for generating leads for your local market. So that video, for example, I've made over $10,000 in ads being played on that one single video. So there's definitely a business model around being a real estate YouTuber on a national level, but it's not effective for generating local leads. What you need to do is make content about your local market, specifically about moving to and living in your local market. And these are the type of things that are going to generate you the most effective at generating leads. And what's great is, let's say there are thousands of agents making national content about real estate. You may be the only agent making content about your specific city, the top neighborhoods in your city, 10 things to know before moving there, about your county. And so you could be a big fish in a little pond, and it's a very effective strategy for generating leads, buyer leads specifically for your real estate business.
Well,
as far as
one of the clients that they're a friend of mine. They have a team that's just on fire right now in the Sacramento area, and they just joined Cody over at Sheridan, and they are so good at making hyper-local content. And what they don't realize is that it's not just hyper-local for YouTube. YouTube and Google are in the same boat. So when you search Google for something local, they pop up in so many things. And, like, they're building a huge business right now. And it's all because they're doing hyper-local content. And everybody else wants to promote, and they don't post anything negative, right? Like, every other agent's posting about the NAR stuff. And if your goal is agent attraction with your channel, then sure, post about NAR. But if you're trying to talk to your consumer and you start posting about all this industry specific stuff, you're basically telling the consumer, like, I don't really give a shit about you. It's super wild. Like, when people stop to think, it's like, why am I actually posting that? I don't know, because everybody else is posting it. But how does that actually help impact your business, right, man? Like, so when you talk about posting hyperlocal, it's so easy to just post about the neighborhoods that you're in. But like, when I see people, like, one of the mistakes I see with agents is they only post the good stuff about the neighborhood. Like, they're everything's always, oh, this is the best neighborhood. It's like, you're the best agent. This is the best neighborhood. I have the best systems. I have the best negotiation. It's just noise to people. Like, can you talk about the strategy a little bit? And I didn't mean to cut you off. But can you talk about, when you say hyperlocal, like, how do you show the pros and the cons of both sides of the coin?
Yeah. So I love that point that people usually only show the positive. Whenever I do a pros and cons, or I do like a 10 thing to know video, I always try to highlight a bad thing as number one. And the reason I do that is just to show my credibility. Like, hey guys, I'm not going to fluff this up. Like, here's something that is
trust
crappy.
Right out the gate.
Yes, building trust. Like, for here in Maryland, like, our traffic sucks. Like, we're right outside of DC. And we have all kinds of issues with traffic. And like, hey, this is first thing that you need to know. And so when you're doing a video, what you really want to do, if you're doing like a top 10 list or pros and cons, you really want to start off with the most interesting thing as number one, and then kind of taper off. So the least interesting thing is the 10th thing that you list. And the reason you do that is to hook their attention, get them like, whoa, like, that number one was so good. I bet your number two is going to be just as good. I can't wait to see number 10. And a lot of agents want to do it backwards. They want to build up and like have a big crescendo, and the most interesting thing is number 10. No. You got to fight for their attention. Every moment of a video or any piece of content, you got to fight for their attention. So I always put the most interesting thing as number one. And if I'm doing a pros and cons, I do try to be as honest as I can and try to find something negative just to build that trust with them up front, at the very, very start of it.
How important is like the editing process? Like, what should they look for if they say, for example, a new agent says, hey, I want to get on YouTube. I want to do something like towards like, if you're looking at like kind of a smaller audience, is it more the content? Is it more the hook? Is it more the tags? Is it what do they need to consider when like actually creating a YouTube channel organically in order to get leads?
Yeah, great question. All right. So I'd say number one is going to be the actual topic of the video. So like, there's really three things. So the first battle is get them to click on the video. And there's three things that influence that. Number one is going to be the topic of the video. If you create a video, what is an escrow account? Nobody's watching that video. No matter how good the thumbnail is, no matter how good the editing is, nobody's going to watch a video about what is an escrow account. You make a video, 10 things you absolutely need to know before moving to Maryland. That's an interesting concept for a video. And just that concept alone, people will click on that video. Mr. Beast spends so much time just coming up with interesting ideas for videos. And that's really where it needs to start, is the actual concept of the video. When it comes to YouTube, the next thing that really influences click-through rate is going to be the thumbnail image. And you want to look at a thumbnail image as like a scroll stopper or as a stop sign. They're just kind of looking through YouTube, they're like, whoa, what is that? So thumbnail should be really just to get their attention. And after you get their attention, the next thing they're going to do is read the title. And the title needs to be like a headline and not a label. So a sensational headline, not moving to Maryland, but the pros and cons of moving to Maryland. 10 things to know before moving to Maryland. 10 things I wish I had known before moving to Maryland. Those are headlines. And I still see real estate agents just labeling the video, moving to Maryland, buying a home in Maryland, something super boring like that. So that's going to be like the first thing that they need to start with. And then you get into the actual content of the video. And editing, like you want to have good editing, but I've seen videos with terrible editing that do incredibly well. On my outdoor camping video, I have one video that it's like 20 minutes long. I have zero editing, no B-roll, no graphics, no animations, no text. It's just me talking to the camera for like 20 minutes about camping gear. And that video has like 500,000-600,000 views on it. And so the content is way more important than the editing. And I've seen agents that like, oh, I spent $500 on an editor, and it's all this fancy graphics and animations, and there's no like meat and potatoes. There's no actual value. So that value is what you need to start with. You need to provide as much value as you can in these videos. That's the primary, and then secondary is going to be the editing. You want your editing to be as good as you can be, right? You want to keep their attention. You need to fight for their attention the entire way. Like I was saying with how you structure a video, you want the most interesting thing up front, and then it can be a little less interesting later on. With your editing, what you see oftentimes with YouTubers is they have a lot of cuts and edits first, and then as they go through the video, there's just less cuts and less editing. It kind of slows the pace down, and they do that to hook the audience and capture their attention. I was watching a Mr. Beast video, and I kind of broke it down on one of my live streams recently, and he had something like 15 cuts in the first like 9 seconds of his video. So boom, 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 just to get your attention and get you hooked. And then he got into the content. So hopefully that answered your question. A bit of a rant, but I'd say your content strategy is, the idea of the video is really important. And then providing as much value as you can is more important than the edit.
What are you talking about? Because you're doing really, I mean, so one thing that I asked you earlier was, how long did it take before you got your first lead? You said a year. And now you're at a position where your YouTube activities are producing enough income in your real estate agent attraction downline that you're able to step outside of real estate full time. But like, why do you feel like agents come in, they do a couple of weeks of videos, right? I mean, and some of these videos, you said you're spending like 20 or 30 hours editing, right? So like that's a chunk of change, right? But like a new agent that's starting out their YouTube channel, they're not going to have the bandwidth. They're not, you don't even know until you make at least 50 to 100 videos. You don't even know like what to edit in or out, right? Like you don't even know the 9 cuts that you wouldn't even notice them, right? You wouldn't even notice them until you start working with somebody. So like, let's say you're a newer agent, not new agent, but you're a newer agent to YouTube. Where do you come up with your ideas? Because like, I think of agent attraction personally, and I'm like, how many things can you really talk about when it comes to agent attraction?
I've got so many ideas for videos. I just need the bandwidth and the time to make them. I have so many videos,
so like,
and Reel's constantly changing as well. I feel like every 6 months I need to update my videos. I have one right now, just updating the revenue share video, just because our numbers changed in the last 12 months. So I don't have that problem with coming up with ideas. I just need the bandwidth to actually make more content.
Is it okay to repeat content?
Yeah.
Right. Like, is it okay on your channel, like every 3 months you do like, hey, this is the basic rev share of Reel, like just revisit the old topic again and again and again and again and again on like a set schedule? Is that okay to like have a rerun?
Yeah. Okay. So we got a couple questions in here. So
like
yes,
97.
Like that is a strategy. There are agents that say, hey, I'm going to post every single week, and they're kind of just repeating the same stuff in all their videos. You'll see that. There's YouTubers who do that, but there's a lot of real estate agents that they're kind of making the same video over and over again. They're just phrasing it slightly different thumbnail, different title. It's a lot of overlap, and that strategy can work. Absolutely, it can. Sometimes it's just a matter of the packaging, and it can be the exact same content, but if you packaged it as 10 things to know before moving to Maryland versus 10 things I wish I'd known before moving to Maryland, like one of those just may do better. And so there are people who do that strategy. I'm not a fan of doing that strategy of just kind of every video is exactly the same. I like coming up with original content for each of them. What excites me is when I can come up with something that like nobody's ever done before or some new project. I astound you guys, if you go to Google and you type in LPT Realty versus EXP Realty, one of my article and video ranks #1 for that. And I got really excited about this project for some reason. I created this spreadsheet and broke down all the costs of EXP Real and LPT. And this was like original content. I hadn't seen anybody else doing this. And I ran a bunch of different scenarios. And then I wrote an entire like 2,000 word article about it. And then I spent like 30 hours filming this video all about it. And like, this is original content. And I just got really excited about doing that. So I personally like creating original content for every video and trying to come up with new ideas, even on boring topics like real estate companies. But you can just kind of repeat the content, over again. And like pretty much every year now, I've made an updated, Real Broker Explained video because all the numbers are changing. So it's kind of, all right, so that's kind of that question. Like you can repeat the content. Going back to like if you're a newer agent, there's a couple of milestones that you have to get past. The first one is analysis paralysis. There are so many agents that just never take action. They just never do it. They research and they buy courses and they talk to people and they never make their first effing video. And it's so frustrating. And that's kind of the first hurdle you need to go and come over. And then to your point, the next one is there's people that they'll try it for 4 weeks. They stay motivated. It's almost like a diet. Like you stay motivated for 4 weeks and then you just kind of fizzle out. There's agents that do that on YouTube and they do it for a month. They don't see any results and then they never try it again. And what I would say to that is one thing I've realized in life the last couple of years is how important momentum is. And sometimes you just got to take action to build momentum in that direction. And what I tell agents, like, you want to get on YouTube? Great. Go film a video today. Go upload your very first YouTube video this week. Just start. Just get over that analysis paralysis that so many people get stuck on and just keep that momentum going. And I don't care if your video sucks. Your first 10 videos are going to suck. Just get that momentum and keep it going. YouTube is a marathon, not a sprint. You just got to, once you have that momentum, you got to protect that momentum at all costs as well. Because once it starts going in the opposite direction, man, it is hard to turn that ship around. So that'd be my advice for newer agents trying to get into YouTube is just start.
I've always said to agents that, you got to find the medium that you best communicate on and then go all in. So for some people it's written, some people it's video, some people it's audio, like podcasts. Like you got to figure out what way you communicate best with an audience you're trying to reach. You mentioned something earlier in the green room that you're doing a lot of blogging. Can we talk about that a little bit? Because we've never really had this conversation on the podcast before about how to write an effective blog, how to actually get your blog out in front of people that are potentially.
I think realtors are more talkers than they are writers.
Yeah, but I think
Cody sends out a lot of emails, and I'm like,
I also think that there's a lot of people that will never do video because they don't feel confident on video. And they just will never be able to get over that. They'll never be able to get over their voice on audio. They'll never be able to get over the way they look on video. Now, blogging could be a great way that could kind of like start them towards like kind of almost like a getting in front of the target audience. So can you talk to us a little bit about your blogging strategy and like kind of how you're ranking these blogs, like to, like keywords and all that good stuff? Like what are some things that if somebody's starting a blog, what should they consider?
Yeah. So my main blog is livinginmaryland.com. That's my real estate website. I probably have 50, 60 articles up there. And I title almost all of them exactly the same. I title them A Local's Guide to Living in Blank, and whatever the city name is. And my goal for that is I want to have an article for every major city in the state of Maryland and just generate leads from those. And that website, I probably generate 15 to 20 organic leads a month completely for free from that content. And a lot of those articles rank in the top 3 when people are typing in things like moving to Annapolis, living in Annapolis. Some of them, like so if you type in Severna Park, Maryland, my article ranks number 2 right behind Wikipedia just for the city name of Severna Park, Maryland. And yeah, I absolutely generate leads from that. And I think that articles are very synergistic with YouTube videos. They go hand in hand very, very well. And so let's say you wanted to make a video, pros and cons of living in Annapolis, Maryland, right? You're probably going to kind of script that out a little bit, at least write an outline. But let's say you write a script for it, man, you're like 80% of the way to having an article. You're already writing it. You're doing the research, you're formatting it. Why not just put that into an article? You're so close. And so I think that if you're making this, you think this content would do well on YouTube, it's also going to do well as a written article. There's actually a lot of value, a lot more value you can provide in articles as well. The one, because you can update them down the road. You really can't do that with YouTube videos very easily. 2, like you're sending people to your website and you have all these different call to actions and everything. They're on your website, so now you can cookie them and retarget them with Facebook ads if you wanted to. And what I like to do is I have links to additional resources in my articles. So sometimes the call to action in my videos, my YouTube videos, you're like, hey, and if you want to check out the full article I wrote to go along with this video, along with additional links and resources to some of my favorite restaurants in Annapolis, Maryland, I have a link down below where you can check out that article. And so I'll sometimes send traffic from YouTube to my my articles. And so, yeah, I think like why not? Why not have a website full of articles about all the different cities with different resources? And then what I do is I embed those YouTube videos about that city in the article. And this is really pretty important to the SEO factor of it. So let's talk about SEO for a moment. So a lot of the stuff that people talk about SEO for articles and websites, completely outdated, right? Everybody's so focused on keyword density, which it used to be, you had to pick a target keyword like moving to Maryland, and then you have to use it like 0.03% of the time per 1,000 words, and that's a keyword density. And then you have to build backlinks to your website. Yeah, there used to be a whole analytical thing to this, getting Google to articles to rank, and it used to work for me 10 years ago. And nowadays, if you really think about it, Google owns Android. They can see what people are doing on websites on Android. They own Chrome, so they can see what websites people are bookmarking. That's critical. Mm-hmm. And if you had access to that data and you're creating, a search algorithm, would you use that in your search algorithm? I think I would, So my goal when I write articles is to provide so much value, make such a good article that somebody
people
is
want
going
to bookmark it.
Yeah. And that's my North Star. That's it. And if you provide a good enough article, people bookmark it, I feel like that's going to win in the end. Now there's a couple other little hacks, little tricks you can do. One is that Google, they're going to look at the click-through rate, just like on YouTube, right? If they show your thing in number 1, what percentage of people actually click on it? So again, you need to create a headline and not a label, not moving to Annapolis or just Annapolis, Maryland as the title. But I like a local's guide to living in Annapolis, Maryland, or pros and cons of living in Annapolis, Maryland, 10 things to know about living in Annapolis, Maryland. Those types of headlines do very well with Google, and you have a high click-through rate. I don't think they show you the click-through rate. Maybe they do, but just know that
the number one article is from Extra Space Storage, and it's 16 things to know about living in Annapolis.
Well, I can research that, and maybe I need to make 20 things to know. Try Severna Park, Maryland, and I think if you just type in that city name, my article should rank number 2, Local's Guide to Living in Severna Park, Maryland. And so Annapolis, that is the capital.
Your website's Living in Maryland, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you guys see my screen? You're number 2. So moving to Severna is Bob and Rona, and then it's livinginmaryland.com, and a local guide to living in Severna Park, Maryland is right there, number 2.
And then if you go down 2 more, there's another
guide to Severna Park. Yeah, you're twice in the first. So cool. Search. That's it's pretty freaking cool.
And a bunch of others.
I'd like to rank like that.
And I have articles like that for, dozens of cities around Maryland.
Sure.
I get lost. What was I talking about? And so some other hacks to get your stuff to rank. So they're going to look at the click-through rate. So, I had a locals guide to living in Severna Park, Maryland. I also had the ultimate guide to moving to Severna Park, Maryland. Try to create a cool, sensational headline. And then they're going to measure is how long are they actually on that article for, right?
Yeah.
Do they go to the article and then they back out?
Reading?
Yeah. Do they back out within 30 seconds?
I should click on your article and actually just leave it open and help you out a little bit.
All day. Well, yeah, get them to number one. Everyone go to that article and get them to number one.
Well, the great thing is I wrote that article 4 years ago and I haven't updated it. So for 4 years.
Is that you in the without a beard?
No, that's probably my buyer's agent.
In the picture?
I've been trying to send those leads to somebody else nowadays.
Yeah. Is this you right here?
Yeah, that's me. Yep. This is new, man. I've only had this for a couple of years. That's me right there. That's you? That's how old that article is.
You guys have to go to livinginmaryland.com just to see Malcolm now versus Malcolm when he was clean cut.
And that's my buyer's agent.
Huh?
I've had my midlife crisis and I grew a beard and I got a sleeve tattoo just like 2 years ago.
That's impressive. So you're driving people right here to your YouTube as well, and then you have a couple of different pop-ups. I mean, it's a I know you mentioned to me that I need to work on my websites and things like that, but this is this is a pretty slick page, and there's a lot of information on there.
And if you were a buyer, would you bookmark that? Yeah. And so going back to you want to keep them on the page as long as possible. One of the best ways to do that is embed a YouTube video on there. I think I've got 2 videos in there. If they watch both of those videos, they're gonna be on that page for 10 minutes, which is a great sign to Google. And again, this is that synergy. So I'm getting views on YouTube. It's building relationships with them, and they're on that page a lot longer because of the article. A couple of things you want to do is include images in there. You want your images to be as small as possible. I usually make mine 150 kilobits in size. And that's still good enough resolution.
Page loads.
Yeah, for the page load speed. If they're too big, it can slow down the page, which is a factor. And then you want to have external links on your content as well. And I try to find links that Google has already indexed about that city. So I'll go to the Anne Arundel County website and I'll link to the county's pages about those parks because Google already knows hey, this is about this city and about this park, high quality link. And then, so I usually try to do links to parks, I do links to restaurants as well.
The other thing you did on one of your pictures was there's a picture in another one of your articles. And for those of you guys who aren't watching on the YouTube, you have a little arrow to a dock. And I spent literally 15 seconds what the hell is that? I'm just blowing it up right now. I'm what the heck is that? I'm actually curious. So I'm what is that? And it's probably a park or something. Yeah, I'm zooming in, zooming out. I'm what? So little tricks like that I think are probably also driving people to sit on these pages for a few extra minutes.
I'll take it. That's actually by accident. That's an old listing photo from a listing. There's an arrow pointing to which house it was on
that's hilarious.
On the river.
That's so funny. Now I'm what is there? Because I looked at it and I saw nothing, and I'm it just looks like a house and a dog, but maybe I thought it was a public park. But now that I look at it more closely, I'm okay, yeah. So so all these little hacks that you're doing are driving your rankings, which are allowing you to actually be an agent that can actually say you're a YouTuber. My question to you is, to change gears a little bit before we wrap up. I was working with this gal for an hour, and then she was oh, well, I joined your course and I'm still getting these leads online, but I'm not able to convert them. And I was well, you literally didn't write out a script. You didn't write out a framework. You just gave me money for 1 month. And then you showed up one call and you're okay, I'm going to be an awesome Instagram influencer that converts leads online. Her Instagram page is fire. I mean, her Instagram page was fire. I was like, oh my God, this is really good stuff. But she couldn't convert a hot lead for the life of her, right? And she thought that if she just focused more on putting out more pretty content, people would just naturally want to work with her. And that's a huge disconnect that people have. As we're wrapping up here in the next couple minutes, can you share how you're taking these leads and converting them to actual paying clients? Because I think that's an art in itself.
Yeah. So I'll be honest, like my lead conversion sucks. I'm terrible at lead conversion.
Oh, bro, well, you just closed the deal today. So I know a guy that can help you with that. I'll drop a link in the chat. Don't you worry.
Well, you know what I do instead? If your lead conversion sucks, you know what you do? You just generate more effing leads. If I generate a lot of leads, doesn't matter how badly my lead conversion is, because I'll still be successful.
That is one way to do it. That is definitely one way to do it. So let's just do a quick role play here as we wrap up. So lead comes in. What do you say? Right. So how are the leads? How are you generate? You have a form on your webpage. Like, are they coming in directly to your database? Or are they phone calls? Like, where are most of your leads coming in from?
I prefer when they register on the website over them calling me, just so I can call them at my own convenience.
Okay. So they register on your website and then you do an outbound call to them.
Mm-hmm.
And then what do you say on that outbound call?
I'd be like, hey, Vikram, how's it going? Malcolm Lawson, livinginmaryland.com. I saw you register on my website. Are you thinking about making a move to Maryland here soon?
No.
Oh, okay. Well, thanks for your time. Yeah. I'm not going to waste my time with somebody that says no. I ask them a few like qualifying questions. So here's the truth, man. I have it so easy because if they watch my videos, they have that relationship with me. They want to work with me. They're excited that I called them up. They tell me like, oh my God, I wasn't expecting you to call me up. So I don't have to sell
be one of your cronies.
Yeah, same thing with the agent attraction. When people call me up, like they already know everything about Real. They watched all my videos, and I have 97 people that I brought into the company so far on my tier 1, and on those calls, like I don't have to sell Real. They already know everything about Real. They already know everything about me. I just kind of BS with them and have a casual conversation because my videos did that work for me. Same thing with my clients.
That's what I was hoping you were gonna say, right?
Yeah.
Like when you build the brand, like I was with Jeremy Miner's company for almost a year. I trained with them, and when I went in, I told the sales guy, I'm like, dude, I'm ready to rock. He's like, yeah, well, let's slow it down, and he still took me through their process, which I appreciate. But I was ready to give a credit card. I'm like, if it's under $5,000 a month, I'm in, and it was under that, and I was like, cool, I'm in. And so what people don't understand is like, your closing percentage when you build out good content and good, not every piece of content you build is going to be good. Some's going to be great. Some's going to be crap. And like the one that's crappy, like your mom and your uncle see, and that's about it. The ones that are good, the whole world sees. Like the cool thing is that if you build crappy content, nobody sees it. They only see the good stuff because the algorithms are so smart that you're not going to fool it. Like you're not going to get your shitty content out in front of 1 million people because you wouldn't watch crappy content. So like, that's kind of like my barometer. I'm like, okay, if my content sucks, nobody sees it and then it's okay. But if my content's good, a lot of people see it. And then those people become really easy, sticky clients.
Yeah, no, you're 100% right. I love what you say, Malcolm. Like, but like what people don't see and like why I think people struggle with lead conversion is like like you said, the 20 to 30 to 40 hours on the video in order to build the brand. And it's like, this doesn't like lead conversion, like to get these types of hot leads that like know you, like you, and trust you, you got to put out a shit ton of content and you have to build brand. This is what, like, for me, like, one of our highest converting channels for our agency is our Facebook, my personal Facebook page, and my email list, because they spend so much time with me via email. They spend so much time with me via, my Facebook, my personal Facebook profile. But like, that's like taken years and years of like content and posts and updates and communicating with people and commenting on other people's like stuff and like building an actual relationship with somebody. And I think when you look at the online lead generation space and you look at whether it be organic, whether it be paid, It's like that. If you want those hot, ready type of leads, you need to have that long form content. You need to be able to provide that value. And I think that where people get hung up on the value, and what I'm hearing you say is like the value, like in order to provide value, you have to put work into the video in order to actually give them what they're looking for and actually like build a relationship with them.
You just lost the whole audience on work.
Oh, did I?
Everybody just dropped off. You said work, and like 99% of people just dropped off.
Well, they would still hear me regardless. Editors can cut that out. But wrapping up here, wrapping up here, Malcolm. If somebody wants to reach you, maybe it's agent referral. Maybe they want to learn a little bit more about Real. Maybe they want to learn a little bit more about how to run YouTube. Where is kind of the best place that we can kind of send them for them to have a conversation with you?
Yeah, absolutely, man. So my website is next-genagents.com. I have a bunch of agent educational content up there. You can find my podcast up there, my YouTube channel from there, and a bunch of articles going over like social media and tips and strategies for real estate agents there as well.
Malcolm, it was an absolute pleasure today. I want to say thank you for sharing so freely. And I hope that if you're listening back to the podcast, iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, I want to say we'd love to subscribe. Other thing is like tons of actionable items that you can take in your real estate business to drive more hot and ready leads, whether it be blogging, whether it be YouTube. Take some of these tactics, and then, if you run with them and you start seeing results, let us know. Throw in the comment section below what you like best and how we can continue to provide you more value. I want to say thank you for tuning into another episode of the RE Agent Podcast. We'll see you soon.